fuck are you doing? It's nice to see you, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It's the big thing. We're all here, the three of us. And if you were here last week, then you caught in on it. If you didn't, then you're missing out. And you decided to pick and choose what you want to watch, and how dare you? It's going to be a good one today. We're talking about Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga singing up a storm on Joker 2. What's Todd Phillips thinking? Talking about that. I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. Roxy asked me to do it. I did it. I came through. Did she come through and watch the whole season of The Offer? Nope. She watched one, so I'll give her that. We'll talk about that. Taika Waititi talked about his new Star Wars movie and what he's going to do. Ryan Gosling, first pictures of him as Ken in the Barbie movie. And Brett watched one episode of Stranger Things. Good for him. I watched the whole thing. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Not a lot of spoilers. I don't know what the hell we're going to wind up getting ourselves into. And speaking of The Offer, today I have a very special interview with Dan Fogler, who plays Francis Ford Coppola from The Offer, as the series finale drops, or I don't know if it's series or season finale, tonight drops on Paramount Plus. And we're excited about it. Excited to talk about everything, that and more, on this episode of The Big Thing. So if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor and subscribe. You should do that. Hit that button there, like, share, do all that. So we're going to get into this thing. This is the show logo, and I can guarantee you know what? I bet you Obi Wan pops up. Look at that. How stupid that is. Oh, man, we're cooking with gas. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Tis The Big Thing with me and Roxy. And Brett. Are you a little blurry today? You look blurry?
Do I look blurry?
I don't know. Who cares? Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm glad everybody's back. People like this. I wrote to Roxy the other day, and I told her. She tried to bail on me a couple of years ago, or 2 years ago. And
Super duper not what happened.
I think it is true.
No.
No? No.
No.
Well, anyway, people apparently like this trio, so we're going to give it to them for a little bit. And
I'm a little mad at you guys, though.
What'd you do?
What I do? I'm mad at you what I do?
Yeah, what'd you do?
Man.
Well, I'm just curious, what did you guys not notice?
Your hair looks great.
Thank you, Kristian. I've been in here for 15 minutes.
Well, because we're not on the air. How long have we been on the air for?
You can't
2 minutes.
compliment me when we're off there?
No.
Oh, okay.
I get in trouble.
I was going to say I liked your eyeshadow. I thought that looked really nice.
I like your shirt.
But I didn't spend
notice.
$400 on my eyeshadow yesterday.
No.
It's amazing that
It's
amazing that women spend that kind of money on their hair. My wife does too.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Well, because look at how blonde I am, and you guys you knew me when I was
brown.
Yeah,
almost black.
Yeah,
black
I had
hair.
jet brown hair.
Yeah, I remember.
Is jet brown a thing?
It could be. Sure, we just made it a thing.
Yeah.
I just want to start the show by
Yeah.
telling Roxy how great her hair looks.
That's what I was hoping.
That's what we were hoping to do.
I gave you
Do
guys.
me a favor, please. Get out of here.
I will
Get
not.
out of here, man. Shit.
I will not.
Perfect.
I just want compliments all the time, man. And I go
Yeah.
fishing, and it doesn't work. And I have to fish harder.
Well, you got him. You got him.
Kind
We
of.
nailed it.
It's tough because your hair always looks great, and I'm not joking.
See, what a comeback!
Really good.
Way to come back.
All right,
I ate a chocolate chip off the table instead. That's what I did.
Well, he didn't know it was a chocolate chip.
No, I knew it was.
There was a pebble.
No, I had a granola bar yesterday, and I realized that's what it was.
Was
when
it
we picked
Chewy
it
bar?
up. Yeah.
Oh, those always lose a
Delish.
few.
Yeah. All right, listen. Let's start talking about a couple of things. I want to start Lady Gaga, rumored to play Harley Quinn in the much anticipated Joker 2 from Todd Phillips. The first one earned Joaquin Phoenix a Best Actor win at the Oscars, whenever the hell that was. And now they're talking about part 2. They didn't know they were going to do part 2. There's a lot of rumors saying, we're not going to do a part 2. Why would we do a part 2? We don't need to do a part 2. We ended it perfectly. Now, of course, the movie made a lot of money, so they're doing a part 2. But, Rox, people are losing their shit. Now, I saw them losing their shit at first, and I'm like, because I thought they were losing it because of Lady Gaga. And I'm like, why are they House of Gucci?
Star is Born.
I actually think she was better in House of Gucci than she was in Star is Born. My personal opinion on that. But I think I could see her fitting a different version of Harley Quinn. And she also played a lunatic in that Machete movie with from I think it was either Machete 1 or Machete 2 from Robert Rodriguez, that really crazy movie with Danny Trejo. Anyway, she was in that, and she can do crazy. There's no doubt about it. But that's not what they were losing their shit over, apparently. It's going to be a musical? It seems like it's one of... and I could be wrong. I mean, from what... Who knows? I'm going to probably have Coy in here saying, like, well, in 1961, they had a comic that... or whatever it was.
You could talk a lot faster than that.
True. That's when he's sleeping.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it feels like, Roxy, that Todd Phillips is like, all right, we got to mix it up. What if we went fucking crazy? We got like Lady Gaga and we did like a musical and it's inside of his mind in the asylum and the whole thing's a musical. I don't know if you're going to get everybody on board with that one.
I'm super into this.
Yeah?
Oh, I'm super into this.
Yeah.
I do think you're not wrong that that's probably exactly how it went down. I think he was sitting there and was like,
just change it up.
Room was like, what if we did a musical and kind of threw it out as a joke? And then people started thinking a joker, and people started thinking more about it, and they were like, actually, I could see it. Joker is fucking crazy.
It's going to be inside here. It's going to be in his mind. That's what's going to happen.
He's nutso. Lady Gaga's awesome. She's a very talented singer, obviously, but she's a great performer. And why not? We already have. This doesn't take anything away from Joker 1. We're doing something different. They already told the story they wanted to tell, and now it's a musical.
I think the answer to why not is because musicals don't do well, and people don't respond to them. And when you have a movie that's doing, almost whatever it was, $1 billion in business, or it made a shit ton of money.
What do you mean it doesn't do well? What about West Side Story and The Heights?
Ate it.
They both. You mean financially?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's why you make movies. No.
For the love and the art, Kristian.
But this is different.
Sure, that's exactly why studios make movies, for the love and the art.
They're just good people who want to provide art for the people,
Right.
you know.
What's different?
This is because this isn't like Evan Hansen or something. This is something that people know and want to see. I feel dumb right now because when you told me it was going to be a musical, I thought it was going to be like a stage production that they were going to do.
like on Broadway or something?
I'm like, because that would ruffle some feathers.
I don't know. I think that probably would do better.
It's like there's follow up to the film as a.
I still think people will go and see it because obviously, it's what I also think people should, myself included, should wait to see like. What is the actual story? Is it do people hear musical and they just think people are going to start breaking out into song? But if it is taking place inside of the psyche of this lunatic who's locked up, and inside of his head is this musical, and it's a majority of the movie, the same way that he was imagining himself on the talk show with De Niro for that time, you could understand what the premise is. Doesn't mean you necessarily still have to like it, because if you don't like musicals, you're not going to say, I like musicals. I loved West Side Story. I think West Side Story is one of the best Steven Spielberg movies in a very long time. Nobody saw it. It didn't do very well. People don't want to see musicals.
How many songs make something a musical? Like, do you feel like if it's 5 songs that people will be okay?
I don't know the answer to I guess like how much balance it is, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing's a musical. There's some things that break in the song, but you could see it where it's just this lunatic who's just breaking in a song because in his head that's what he thinks it is. If I don't know, it could be very creative and very weird and very fun, and people could want to go, all right, maybe that was a good choice. Could also be a big swing and a miss.
Would you rather it be original music about the Joker that they make up, or that it's classic 80s 90s music whenever this is taking place?
Good question.
Kind of like Moulin Rouge, where it's like they tie in the songs with the story.
Again, I don't know. That's a great question, but I don't know. It really depends on the execution of how it's set up, right? Because even when they did that song that you hear I forget the name of the song, but you hear it all the sports games when he's going down the stairs and it's hey, the way that they used that I thought was very interesting and unique. Instead of doing some kind of original weird dance or something that he does to the music in the bathroom, which is from the brilliant score. So I don't know. It just depends on how they execute it. Yeah.
I think if they do use classic music, then they might have an easier time selling it, because for some reason I feel like a lot of people who like comic book movies, who might not necessarily like musicals, but they like music, might be able to kind of overlook the musical element. But if they just go all out and it's like, the Joker, he's the Joker.
Right,
people are gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
I know. I don't know how they're gonna do it. So it's not. I'm still interested to see it. There's no doubt about it. I'm not like right. There are a lot of people who just wrote it off. This is the stupidest thing ever. I can't do it. I don't know what the vision is.
Yeah.
Now, if the vision turns up looking like Cats, then yeah, I'm going to be like, that was dumb.
Some people
what a way to piss it all away.
We're asking whether or not this means we'll never see Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn again.
With Joaquin? Oh, no. Why wouldn't you? It's a totally different...
I think it's a fair question because
No, it's
of
not.
the... You guys are morons. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I'm with you that I think we will see her again, but I do think it's a fair question considering what is DC doing right now with Harley Quinn,
Right.
Or any of their properties
in general.
in general, you know, we've got Black Adam and we've got a new Shazam, but what is our plan for our Batman, Superman, Harley, like the main core?
Well, sorry. So I'm glad you went down that road because there's so much to talk about in DC in general right now because I know that people don't feel bad for millionaires or billionaires ever, but you gotta feel bad for the dude that bought Warner Brothers now, this Discovery guy. What a mess he took over. What an absolute mess. And he's making moves, and there's so many messes that he's trying to clean up, right? So
Shitstorm, Kristian.
shitstorm. So we'll start with Ezra Miller, all right? Because that legit might as well just run out the gate and tell you. Have you paid attention to any of this stuff going on?
Yeah.
So.
You know they can't find them
They can't
right now?
find him.
Can't find him.
Now he's on the run. And so, okay. So let's take out the lunacy of the actual thing that's going on with this guy, whatever the hell he's doing with this kid, and this kid's is out and they're missing. And
Yeah, that's
Takata, Iron
disgusting.
Eyes.
I mean, that
all of it. It's
Yeah.
it's all horrible. Whatever's going on with it, and they break down what the hell's going on. Fine. But now you switch it back to Warner Brothers, and they're going, "Hey, yeah, we got a $200 million movie in the can, and it's supposed to come out in November. Well, what are we going to do with it? Nothing.
No.
We can do nothing with this movie because there is no win on this movie. Because if you release it with this guy running around the joint, wherever the hell he is, and if they haven't found him by November or whatever, or next year or whatever, they'll find him by then. But still, with all the shit that this guy has gotten himself into, everything, no matter what the hell it is, on a business side, you got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
You just have to. Like,
I don't know that Warner Brothers / Discovery is going to get rid of Ezra Miller. I think that
What the
I
hell?
know they just did a test screening of The Flash, and apparently it did excellently.
It looks
And
great.
They're talking about pushing to 2023. I think that Warner Brothers is going to try to get them help. I don't know
and
that
let me
that's the
correct
case.
it too. I am always I was unaware, and I have to be better. I forgot that they like to be identified as Ezra Miller.
It's one of the more challenging stories to talk about, though, because Takata Iron Eyes, the one that Ezra is grooming.
Yes.
I guess Ezra has given the pronouns of they them, but Takata's
Supposedly
parents are
grooming,
giving
right? Supposedly grooming?
yeah,
Yeah.
allegedly grooming.
Yes.
But the parents are saying no. What are you guys talking about? And apparently Takata doesn't even have a phone right now. So
I don't know what
the whole thing is.
It's a mess. But let's say it is great.
Yeah.
Right. But that's why the problem is this: if you leave the movie in the can and you have this movie that could be a hit, you lose millions upon millions of dollars because you're not releasing it. Plus the fact that it's the epic return of Michael Keaton, which you're not going to. I mean, I know he's going to also be in the Batgirl movie, or he's going to be in. I think so. Yeah, the Batgirl movie.
I think that's right.
But he's supposed to debut in this first. So you have this kind of Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield type of Andrew Garfield return, and McGarfield.
I like McGarfield.
I like that too. But it's a good blend. It's in the multiverse. But either way, you have this return, and you can't do anything about it because if you release it and it does well, do you want to make a sequel with this guy? That's part one. Part two is if you recast it and do the whole movie and do a Christopher Plummer with this movie, there's no way you make a profit on this movie because then you're going to lose you'll probably lose $200 to $400 million.
I'm surprised this
win.
wasn't the first film I booked because that would be my life.
That would be right.
Well, what?
You're gonna play Ezra Miller's best friend.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're in the what?
Right.
Where?
It's never coming out.
Where?
It's never coming out.
That would suck. That's so right.
Terrible.
There's so many people that are involved with
I
this.
know, and that's
Yeah.
and they've been involved for years. I mean,
Yes.
this already has experienced so many delays. I think that Warner Brothers and Discovery has a real decision to make here, not just about Ezra Miller, but also about
Don't switch it.
Amber
I was
Heard.
gonna say don't switch it yet.
I'm not even switching, but just right now they have no baseline. They don't know.
That's why I feel
doing.
bad for him. Well, no. I think that
Discovery guy.
I think the Discovery does know what he's doing, and that's why it's like, again, imagine you buy this property, which, of course, you got a chance to buy Warner Brothers and everything with it, and you have a vision for it, and you have the money for it, you buy it. Yeah. But the problem is, it's like, you got some big messes. All right, well, as long as Ezra Miller can, all right, they're getting all messed up at a bar. Don't calm down.
You're talking about the choke slam situation?
All of it,
yeah.
everything. Then in Hawaii, all right, what can you do? Let's just figure it out and make sure we got to try to get around Ezra Miller. Oh, there's a new problem. Oh, shit, that's part 1 on The Flash. And then, well, at least we got Aquaman 2. What's happening? And then it's like, because we talked about this last time, with depending on what happens with the trial itself, they're going to be in an interesting situation because they are facing a double standard. Very much so with Aquaman 2, because they got rid of Johnny Depp from Fantastic Beasts when he was found guilty in that suit that she did was in the UK. So now the roles are reversed. Now, obviously, Amber Heard is still out there saying that she stands by everything she said, but in the court she was found guilty. So if you stand by that, and you stand by that on Warner Brothers, then why aren't you following the same standards from what you had with Fantastic Beasts? Now, he still got paid for those movies, and she would still get paid for those movies, but that's part 1. Then you could also say,
we
well,
don't even know what her contract says, though. His said to get paid, I'm sure, because she doesn't have as much clout. Maybe it only went through Aquaman 2.
Maybe, but the thing is, I'm just even you get paid for just for even with that movie, right? But like, she now is in this place where her role apparently is not even that big in this one, and they cut it down significantly. But the rumors were that there were test screenings, and the people were booing at the screen when she came on, and were going nuts, and and people were saying they're going to boycott the movie if she's in it, and then there was a report that they're getting rid of her and they're going to recast her. That was a report, and then she came out, and her team came out and said, "Bullshit, not happening. It's nonsense and silly and hilarious and not true." But again, it's based in some kind of reality, because if you're Warner Brothers, you got to go, what the fuck do we do now? It's like every day you go and imagine, like, for any time that you think you having bad business problems. Like, I know, again, I don't feel bad for Warner Brothers. They're making a lot of money. That's two shit situations, and other ones totally. But those are 2 big shit storms to come through.
We're asking major companies that don't have heart to be the morality police right now. And that is such a position that these people are not equipped for. They didn't know that was what they were signing up for, and I don't know what the right answer is. Part of me does think, and you guys might call me crazy, but part of me does think whatever project you're on, round it out and let them finish it. Like, let's see The Flash and then just say that that's your last project with Ezra unless they get help. Let's see Aquaman 2 and say that's your last project. Like, whatever you already put money towards and everybody else is already winning from, just let's get it out and then move forward. But then the other part of me is like, what do you do for the press lines?
Right. I don't think that's what I'm saying.
What do you do? It's so hard.
That's the problem. I don't think you're crazy for saying that. The problem is also it's a matter of, like you mentioned before, and even though you were joking with it, but it is about box office receipts, and it's about whether or not, like, are people going to see it? Because you've got to try, especially like The Flash. That movie's going to cost at least $200 million to make, at least. And at every second that Ezra Miller continues to do more and more stuff like this, more people are going to be. And there are tons of other people that work on these movies, and I saw those comments that people said, whether it's stuff on Aquaman 2 and there's stuff on The Flash, and tons of people that you want to support. And it's the same way that if there's a director, or if there's even like West Side Story, for example, and all the stuff that was going on with Ansel Elgort, is people still went and saw that movie, and people wanted to support everyone around, And again, I don't know all the details in that, but I'm just saying
he's in a show right now that's crushing too.
That's what I mean. So I'm just using him as an example because someone who's been in whether you like to look, Mel Gibson's still in movies, right? And
Kevin Spacey has a movie coming out.
Kevin Spacey has a movie coming out.
What?
So what's that movie coming out? What's it called? Everything.
Never Again. Okay, one more time.
Right, sequel to
and
that.
he's a star of that, right?
Yeah.
They did a bunch of reshoots, didn't they?
Yeah, they had to do a ton of reshoots because they just kept replacing people with. They're like, let's get Armie Hammer. Oh shoot, let's get
and he was the one that survived it all. But either way, it's just I don't envy them.
Is Cosby available?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. Maybe.
I think
But
he is.
they know. I think he is. You know, him and OJ doing a buddy cop film. But there was the other thing that was that you had mentioned earlier was then there's rumors that this dude from Discovery Warner wants Henry Cavill to come back as Superman, and then they're talking about doing a Superman movie with him. That would be a great move for him. A great move.
Massive.
To get a lot of the fans back on, and not only just Superman fans, but there's a big pocket of people who love Zack Snyder and who love in that area. And if they brought Cavill back,
You're saying with Snyder directing?
I don't think they're going to bring him back. I think that I think that if they were going to do a Man of Steel movie and he wanted to come back to just do it, I think it'd be a massive way to win back a lot of the audience in general. I don't think they would do that. I think you got a better shot of Henry Cavill coming back. I don't think that the Michael B. Jordan rumored Superman is going to happen. The J.J. Abrams one? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But that was also rumored. But there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on in general of what they're trying to do to make some moves. They have to get past these two massive hurdles. I think even though I think that the Flash hurdle is way bigger than the Amber Heard one, because I think Amber Heard right now is in talks. It's still really hot after that. It was like how much that trial was insane.
And it didn't exactly say that they were, he was completely a great dude.
No.
Himself,
He
so
was found
it was
guilty as well.
Yeah,
And,
so it's
and for $2 million for
Right.
sure. She was
Yeah.
just found more
more
guilty.
guilty.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
the Ezra Miller thing.
I do want to get that clip though. A megabyte.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is really
it's
good.
hilarious.
The reason with Ezra Miller too, it's like we did just see him in the Fantastic Beasts movie, and I don't think they negatively impacted the Fantastic Beasts movie because the character Credence is that
Yeah.
the
It was
character
supposed
of
to be a little
Credence
darker and everything. No.
Yeah, but I think that people don't really.
It's also
think
before
of,
that, but it was before this.
It was. It
This-
was before.
this is the
not
this is the
before
one.
all of this.
No, not
Before the
all
grooming?
of it. Before the grooming thing. That was the problem. I
But
mean,
we still don't know
everything
about
else was
the
a problem.
grooming.
But I know we don't know enough about. But this is the other stuff is like, I'm still on this mindset. I believe Ezra Miller needs a lot of help, and for people around Ezra Miller who can help, they should try.
Did you see the Takata video that Takata put out?
No, you know what, Rox? I try not to dive into these things.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well,
I try to focus
I
on the
dive
business
deep.
side of it.
I dive
I know.
That video, Kristian, I was like, okay, Ezra's not the only one in this situation who needs help.
Right.
They both clearly
whatever
need
it
to
is.
get some support.
But this is why also when people say though, when they're so hard on whether it's Warner Brothers or Disney or whoever it might be, when, as you said before, they want these corporations and businesses to make these like more. Well, you should do this if they're this person is a good person, blah, blah, and you got to realize on the flip side of it, it's about business, and it's about, is it going to cost you dollars? Because that's how, it shouldn't be all about money. It is. It's what it's about. It's about money. Now, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't make good movies and good product and good stuff. Absolutely, you should. You should have people interested and entertained. And look, and we may or may not talk about it. Like I don't know if there was a show that I was looking forward to more than Obi Wan Kenobi. When Stranger Things 4, the trailer came out, I said, okay, that'll be interesting. I'm interested. Stranger Things 4 is far superior than anything Obi Wan is doing. Far superior, and it's the investment in how much is put into it overall. It looks cinematic, it looks all this stuff, and they both have probably the same amount of money, but the quality seems to be going inside of that, and there's also the money that they're using, they're putting it to use. So anytime, it is all about money, and it's a matter of you're slapping down your money for Netflix. I think Netflix overcharges, but then I'm like, okay, well look, the money that I just put down, they're making quality stuff like this, but you got to remember, it's always about money and how you use that money. And it's also, if you're putting out a $200 million, and Aquaman 2 made $1 billion, Aquaman 1 made $1 billion. So when you're putting out that second movie, you want to make sure that it works, and you want to make sure that you're not going to lose cash.
I just think that Aquaman 2, and I could be wrong, but will make more money keeping Amber Heard with the people who wouldn't go than it would recasting her and doing reshoots.
Maybe. Unless it depends on how big that role is. I think that is a definite for Ezra Miller. I think it's
you can't.
If you recast Ezra Miller and make a whole new Flash movie, you're essentially just making a new movie.
Right.
Whether you shoot the whole damn thing over again or not.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, because we don't know how big
Amber Heard's role.
So if it's like, even if it costs like $20 million and you hope, okay, maybe we can get that back, or can we cut it down and just cut the role completely? Will it hurt the story? Because we don't know what the story is, right?
Yeah. I mean, and then I think studios have questions too about some of these are more public trials. Ezra has not been on trial yet. Amber and Johnny both have. Then there's like the Will Smith situation of it all, you know, just saying that sometimes there are things that we see that happen, and what as a society are we okay with? Who are we going to support with our dollar? And who are the studios thinking that we're going to show up to support? Because it's not just one or two people in Hollywood now. It is dozens of people. I mean, hundreds of people in Hollywood.
And it's also a matter of, like, when you bring up the Will Smith thing. Will Smith, to me, he'll be back in no time, because
I think so too.
Yeah.
Because we are also, our society in general, especially with Twitter, it's like everybody's a villain for about a month, and then until they do something else. Like in the case of like Ezra Miller, who keeps doing things every like 2 months. But like, it's like every time. And then it's Will Smith this will always be with him. It will, no matter what.
It's canon.
It's canon now. And people will always say things about him, and there will be some people who refuse to watch his movies, but there's going to be a lot of people who get over it. And as long as he comes back, does his thing, Will Smith's going to be all right. It'll take him a little bit to crawl out of the hole, but he'll be all right. I mean,
do you think that's because it's Will Smith and he's built up enough credibility over the last 20 years or whatever it is for us to say this was a one-off, as opposed to Ezra where it's a 5-off, or Amber and Johnny where it seems like
it looks like, again, that Ezra Miller, Will Smith, again, someone who's going through a lot of stuff mentally right now, doesn't excuse anything that he did. I still think that you don't do that at live television when you just don't strike anybody. It's like, but it's a whole other conversation. The point is, I do think that because of everything you just said, and it's a matter of how he comes back, what he says, he'll do some more interviews, he'll do all that stuff. I think Will Smith will be fine. But yeah, there's a lot that's just going on in general, and it's going to keep happening.
Let's
no matter
take
what.
Ezra and say that they shut down the Flash.
Yeah.
They don't put the Flash out.
Or dump it on HBOMAX.
They just make it so that now the Flash is just really not part of the Justice League. Whatever moving forward, they either recast or Ezra's just not involved. And instead, Ezra comes out and puts out a goes to trial, find out that the grooming process was maybe happening there, and Ezra says, I need help, I need support. Goes to therapy, goes to get help, and in 5 years, do we think that Hollywood's like, okay, we could bring back Ezra? Like,
I don't know. You just don't. It's too hard to say without all the details of what's going to happen in the future. And that actually is a good transition into our next topic, which is, I did finally watch Everything Everywhere All at Once, as we talked about. I said I wanted to watch for a long time. However, I did not watch it in the theater. I was going to, and I had my screening. It was like, okay, I looked it up the night before. I said, all right, it's noon. I can make it out here. I had a phone call I had to take, and I was like, make it right to the studio. And then I said, well, it is available on Apple TV. And so I blocked out all the light in here, shut the doors, blasted the sound up, had a couple snacks, some lunch, kicked my feet up, and watched it back here, and it was just as awesome. It was pretty.
So it is available streaming.
It is, yeah. But I had to buy it. I bought it.
Oh, okay.
You can't rent it. It was phenomenal. You weren't wrong though. Top Gun's still my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I think that this movie far superior in the multiverse in general than the Multiverse of Madness. But I didn't realize that the Russo brothers produced this, which was awesome and makes sense because those guys seem to have a similar grasp on how time travel and everything works and time in general and parallel universes that I've always been interested in. So I was pleasantly surprised, yet not really surprised that they produced it after knowing what was going on with it. But it's a brilliant movie. It is it's creative as hell. It's also it's like Eternal Sunshine and Spotless Mind meets Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon meets The Matrix meets Terminator. I mean, there's all those things in there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you cry?
No, but I definitely I felt the emotion.
What relationship got you?
I think ultimately the mother and the and the daughter, and I thought that daughter, she was so good. You know what she did really well is that she went from being like, oh, they're just gonna do like a stereotypical kind of angst teen going through some stuff, and they turned that on its head fast, and she was awesome.
She's the one I keep saying I think should be nominated.
She was great, and the return of Data from Goonies, and he's kind of like the Kyle Reese in this from Terminator. He's also great to have him come back. Everybody in this movie was great performance wise. There's some silly shit going on in it though.
For sure.
And it's creative and it works, but there were sometimes it was a little jarring to me. Like there's like a trophy scene.
Hey.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wish that it wasn't so pixelated in the trophy scene.
Oh, yeah, right.
I want to see what's...
You want to see what's going on?
I want to see what's going on.
You know what I've heard about.
Yeah, well, there's a trophy scene and there's a hot dog scene. That's all I'll say. And it's like, but the thing is, they commit to it, the silliness, and it's like, okay, that kind of explain the rules and all how it works. But it was very fascinating as far as time. But I will tell you that I do this without watching this movie. But because of it, even more so, I then started Googling. Like, I'm starting to get more and more convinced. Have you ever read theories on when you die, that there's more and more theories by scientists that say that your consciousness transfers into a parallel universe?
No.
There are more and more scientists that believe this, and that because it's, again, infinite possibilities and ideas that if there's one particular choice, like if you decided today that you weren't going to come here, that happened, that multiverse happened, like infinite, meaning that, you literally and then there's another choice where you crash into a pole on the way over here.
But when I die, then what?
So again, the theories that you read about is that there's a lot of theories that say, and I had questions about it too, and there's some woman on TikTok that had some full breakdown of this, and I should send this to you, but the answer to that is that you don't really, if you died, to us, you would not. But however, to you would wake up.
Would you cry?
Of course I would.
Brett?
Of course.
Yeah. But multiverse, you would wake up in a multiverse. You'd wake up and some people apparently say that
knowing
is
I died or no?
I mean, again, that's the question.
The
Who knows? And then I said, well, what happens if it's like you never really die? You just keep transferring consciousness. Well, what when you're old? And that's a reincarnation. That's the theory is that you actually would either restart at a different point. And it's fascinating overall. And it's like, there's obviously a lot of people who say no. Once you go, and that's it. And
what do you truly believe?
What I hope or what I believe?
Believe.
I don't know. Believe, I don't know. But I hope that the multiverse thing is true.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's just like a matter. But then again, not necessarily, because it doesn't mean you're going to wake up and what if you wake up in a parallel universe where the Germans won?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I probably would not be here.
There's worse
right
scenarios.
You wouldn't be in that multiverse. And I started. I'm telling you, this is the problem when the movies like this start coming out more, because I've always been fascinated with it, and then I start going down rabbit holes again. And then somebody recommended on a channel, you should check out. I think it was Chris the Asperger guy who comes in and he comments on every video, and he was like, you should check out this YouTube channel that does alternate things in history. And I was watching one where it was, what if the Germans would have won World War I, which was very interesting because and stuff that I didn't realize is that, had they not invaded Belgium, they might have actually won that war. And then who knows what would have happened.
What did it say theoretically would have happened?
I only got about 8 minutes in. I got to finish it. Okay. But it was the Belgium part of it that I was fascinated by. But then I started cooking eggs for the family.
Do you guys remember Sliding Doors?
Yes. I just watched it recently because of this.
Oh my God. I fucking loved that.
It's really
movie.
good. Same thing.
I just remember that when you watch a movie and then you just start thinking about life differently for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's a what if.
Every time that I drop a pen and lean down to pick or anything, I always think what if I hadn't dropped that? Should I not even lean down to pick it up? maybe I'd be with the love of my life and be a huge celebrity.
You can even get even dirtier and filthier with it.
Okay.
Right? Imagine that the day before you, or the day of, you conceived your first child, right? That 10 minutes beforehand, instead of banging your wife, you jerked off into a song. Your kid's not here.
Yeah, no more kid.
And he's like, even it's like, well, you could have had sex that night. Yeah, but it wouldn't be the same kid. It'd be a different kid.
Totally
and that's
different.
what the crazy shit is. It's like, I decided to beat one out. Or if you did beat one out, and because of it, the next day you had sex, and then that's how you got your kid.
That is crazy.
It's nuts. Nah. Like my wife and I always have this conversation. I was just like, if I had not been there that day, then we wouldn't be in this scenario right now. She's like, no, we would have still met somehow. And I'm like, fate is a definite thing as well. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't have met at a different circumstance, but our life would be significantly different as it is today. We wouldn't have the same children. And that's what, like, that movie, was it About Time?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I
They
love
do,
that movie.
they do it really well, where
You just can't go back and mess
he
up
makes
with
one
things.
choice and he comes
Yeah.
back and he's still with her, but they have
Yeah.
different kids.
Yeah.
And like that's the kind of stuff that I find fascinating. But
You guys want to know a weird fate thing?
yes, please.
I don't know if it is fate.
Wait,
yet.
what do you believe in?
You're in the dirt, man.
You think
You're
it's
in
just
the
over?
dirt.
You just think it's over?
The bugs eat you and you're fucking gone.
So you don't think your consciousness goes anywhere? You don't believe in any of this stuff?
The one thing that I think is bizarro is that your body loses like 1.5 pounds or something when you die, and not due to fluids or shit or anything like that. So that's what scientists believe is a soul.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking scientifically what your soul is, that's that. And so that is crazy to me because I'm like, all right, what is that weight that you're losing?
Right.
What is it? And so I think that just kind of goes into the universe and now is energy. But I wish, because I'm so scared of dying. Like, oh my gosh, you should see me up at night when I start going down, spiraling,
that
and I'm
thing.
like,
Yeah.
oh my,
See,
did you, Brett?
that's the
I'll
pro-
spiral city.
Yeah, see, it's funny because a lot of people, death is a major fear for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it's
I
funny.
can't think about it too long, Kristian. Because
But this is why I read all this stuff though too, man, because it's just like
Looking for something
because we've talked about the line jumping that I think about all the time. I'll explain that to you some other time. It's a long.
You saw my face.
It's just essentially like imagine like if you had the ability to like as I just mentioned to you, where if there's infinite possibilities, and you had the ability, let's say that right now you close your eyes for a second, right? And you can't really do this, Roxy, so you don't need to close your eyes. But if you closed your eyes and you put yourself back to, let's say, 2014, when you came in to the schmoes that day, and you went in and or shit. Even what do you think is the most? What's a there's always a thing in your life that you go, had I done that differently, where would I be? What's that thing that you always think of?
When I talked myself into first class and sat next to Kevin Undergaro on an airplane.
Right. Okay. So perfect example for that. So let's say that for that particular, when you close your eyes, you go back to that, or something that you could have said to, even something differently that you would have said to him, or something, and you put yourself back into that position, and you live that life, and you say, okay, what if I did that instead, and we had this conversation on the plane, and other things I would say to him, taking that consciousness of everything that you know right now that you've lived your life, but you could bring it to that moment, talk to him more, and live that life. Let's say you live 3 or 4 years, and then you can open your eyes for a second, and you're right back here. So you've just lived about 4 years, but if you wanted to, you could come right back here because time moves differently. Time moves in a way that
You mean just with your thoughts?
your consciousness, moving your consciousness, basically what she did in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And like she did that in times in this movie. She put her consciousness in other portions. This is what majority of that movie was about, was putting all the different potential outcomes of different universes and being able to live in those. And
But you're making it up. That's the That's the thing that I can't.
What do you mean?
Like when I close my eyes and I can think about.
Yeah.
What if I had never talked my way into first class? I never met him. I never go to AfterBuzz. I never meet you. I
Right.
never show. I never.
But you live that. But what I'm saying is,
But
you
I'm
actually
making up what would have happened.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying. Imagine actually living and watching that. Like I always
play.
bring up. To me, it's always like that. Like one of the moments is that Sarah Silverman moment that I've talked about a million times on the show. Right? Like,
Fair enough.
yeah, the fans are bored to death with it, but it's essentially the first time I did stand up comedy in L.A. I got up on stage because on like a dare on a PAX show at the Improv. And it was my birthday, and I got up, and they were like Rick Overton throwing like all these jokes at me, and I was knocking it out, and it was packed. And it was the last thing of the night. People were going nuts, and I was 22 maybe, and I get off, and I get hand on my shoulder, and someone goes, "You were phenomenal, so fucking funny. And I look, and it's Sarah Silverman, right?
Did you know she's a hero of mine? I don't think I know the story.
Really? So
Yeah.
so now, knowing me today, I would say, because I had seen her at Boston Comedy Club in New York, I'd seen it and knew her from like Saturday Night Live and all these things. And what I would say today is like, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Can I buy you a drink at the bar because I want to get involved more in stand-up comedy? I would love to pick your brain. I'm telling you, from the energy she was giving me that night,
she would have done that.
She would have absolutely done that because she was coming. She went out of her way to come find me to tell me like how good that was. And instead, I am a month fresh into LA, and I look at her and I go, "Thanks, you were great." Something about Mary, and I walked away. And she was in that movie for maybe 3 seconds. She looked at me like I had 3 penises on my face, and I was like,
"It's the worst feeling ever."
It's the worst because I always say to myself. Because the thing is, and I'm not telling you that Sarah Silverman's going to make my career that day. I'm telling you that I'm going to get more information, and I'm making a contact of someone that can say, "Hey, why don't you try to do this?" And who knows what happens. And what I'm saying as far as line jumping goes, to live that moment and go, okay, well, what happens if I actually know everything? What would have happened? And let's say I live 5 years there, and then I come back and I'm right back here, because time moves at a very, interesting pace. But anyway, we could talk about these things forever. We could talk about
brain scramble.
Brain scramble.
Brett, what do you think happened?
Wait. We unfortunately we don't have enough time.
No.
You want to hear? Go ahead, Brett. What do you think happens?
We're worm food.
You think? You think it's
I don't want.
You think it's just over?
I don't want to think it, but I
just think when you go to sleep. Well, look, I'll tell you both. Your option is probably the easiest option.
Yeah.
Honestly, because my option and the multiverse option and all that shit, you still got to go through all the bullshit. You still got to go through all the pain. You still got to go through human nature and all that kind of crap. Your option, you just go to sleep, and that's it.
No, you miss everything, man.
No, fucking hippie.
The best party ever was the next day after.
Listen, before we're gonna talk about The Offer because the season finale is on tonight. Wow. And Dan Fogler, who we're talking about Fantastic Beasts, obviously. Dan Fogler, who's one of the best parts of Fantastic Beasts, and he has been in a lot of different things. He plays Francis Ford Coppola in The Offer, and I had a chance to sit down with him and talk to him. He's in the UK, obviously, right now, but we did the old StreamYardy, and I'm going to show that to you guys right now, and you guys can really, it's a fascinating interview to talk to him about how he got into it and all that. And before we do, also wanted to let you guys know about Athletic Greens. You guys know how much I love Athletic Greens, and I've been using it. Brett, you still been loving it?
Every day.
It's the best.
Every morning.
It's the best. It gives me, and I've been having a glass of it before I watch Obi Wan at night because it drops at 12 o'clock, and I need a boost. And obviously, I always talk about Brett and how he told me, "Do it, man. You're gonna like it," and I love it. I love it because it's I use it all the time, and I have better energy now. Better gut health, optimized immune system, all of it. I've been using it for months, and it's awesome. It helped me out during Star Wars Celebration a lot. And I put it in a water bottle, shake it up. You get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, all of it. And I love it because it gives me that kick, man. And I just feel good after I drink it. And it definitely helps me with sleep. And I like the taste, surprisingly enough. It looks like grass food, but it's not. And I give it to all my friends and family every time. I'm literally giving one to Roxy right now. Just handed one to Roxy.
Thanks, friend.
You're welcome. And it is lifestyle friendly, whether you are a vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, all of it. It has less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. Supports better sleep quality, recovery, all of it. Costs you less than $3 a day, and you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's the best. And as Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews, it is recommended by professional athletes. It's really, really good stuff, and I'm so glad that we have them on as a sponsor. And it is time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in water every day. I'm telling you, throw it in a water bottle, shake it up. That's all you got to do. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. So, to make it easy for you, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. You just got to go to athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Again, athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Okay, so make sure, again, you help out the show and you help out yourself when you do that, so do it. And as I mentioned to you, Dan Fogler, who plays Francis Ford Coppola, he and I got to sit down and talk. I hope you enjoy it. We'll talk about it on the other side. As you see there, The Offer. I've been raving about this show. I have been telling everybody on my show. You want me to shut the hell up about it until you watch it. Then you want to talk about it with me. The show is called The Offer. It's about the making of The Godfather. I obviously am a massive Godfather fan, and I had seen the trailers and I had seen some stuff, and I was like, that's interesting. I'm gonna check it out. One day, my wife and I were browsing around. Like, what should we start? I'm like, I was curious about this one. So we turned it on, and we haven't been able to stop. It is must-watch television. We binged a whole bunch of them, and now we wait patiently, no, not impatiently, week to week as it comes out. And now the finale is coming up. And joining me, ladies and gentlemen, he plays Francis Ford Coppola, which I'm sure is insane anytime he hears it, because that is such an accomplishment. Plays Francis Ford Coppola in The Offer. Dan Fogler. What's up, dude?
How you doing, man?
I'm
It
good.
is weird. It's very strange to hear that.
I'm sure,
every time.
I'm sure it is. Tell me about that, dude. So when you hear that, are you where are you as far as first when the audition or when the particular role comes up, or did you have to audition? I don't know the story behind the cat you being cast as Coppola.
It's a cool story. I got an email from my reps, and they said that you're gonna get an audition for Francis, and I said, "Oh, okay, wow." And then when I got the audition, the header said Francis Ford Coppola, but the sides for the audition were for Puzo.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa. And then I was like, oh, I thought I was auditioning for Francis, and they were like, yeah, no, they want you to audition for Puzo first. And I was like, well, can I audition for both? Because I had my heart set on Francis, And they were like, yeah, sure. So I was like, okay. So first I had a beard. So first I did Francis, and I record whenever I audition. I record my own lines or the other person's lines, and I just kind of time it out like that. And so I had the scene with Pacino, directing him in the famous scene in the bathroom in the restaurant with the gun behind the tank and all that. And so I was doing Pacino off screen, which was crazy. And then I did Puzo. So I shaved, and then I did Puzo,
Oh wow.
which is a great scene with him, and he goes head to head with Sinatra, and which is a great another.
When he walks in with Roddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go to Chasen's club, and so I was reading for Sinatra off screen, and I was like, not that I would ever get Sinatra, but it was so fun to like be reading Sinatra with Puzo, and then and I thought, and what was crazy about the Coppola audition was, like, I didn't know, like I had the beard, and then I put my hair to the side, and I put the glasses on, and I was like, oh wow, I it's like they knew before I knew,
Yeah.
and but that's the part that I wanted. So I send all of these auditions, so and I thought that was like, I'm brilliant because I felt like Coppola would do all that. He would like basically direct all the characters and the scenes, and
It's like a general going into war, man. You got to put it, but that's what he did for sure.
Like Patton,
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, so when you're first of all, how do you even prep to become Francis Ford Coppola, even in an audition? We'll get to the actual casting of it and everything else. Like, what's the prep for that?
It's like a lifelong thing. So
yeah,
I watched Hearts of Darkness when I was, well, actually I saw Apocalypse Now, and I saw him on the beach. Don't look at the camera. Keep moving. Don't look at the camera. And Sheen looking at him like, what the hell? What have I gotten myself into? and I was like, oh my God, he's a director. That's Coppola. He's pulling a Hitchcock, but he's also acting in it. Like, and then you start like, I was like, was that a mistake? Did he see it in editing? And then he was like, he wanted to keep it, or did he intend that? And then you watch Hearts of Darkness, and that is just a great study of him in the middle of this whirlwind.
Yeah.
And his mannerisms and his voice even, it reminds me a lot of my father. Like he seems like he could be in my family, Coppola. And so he was just very familiar, his tone, and growing up in the same part of Brooklyn and same part of New York, and
Yeah.
it's like it's cool, the connection there. But I've been but that was when I was in high school, so.
Right.
And then for this, I was like, I should watch something of him before The Godfather, and that's when I found The Making of the Rain People, and that was the movie he directed before The Godfather, and it wasn't a big hit,
Right.
and I just thought that was fascinating because that was a zoetrope, American zoetrope production, and George Lucas was
Yeah.
directed it, and you see Coppola very vulnerable. He has to shave his beard because they're going into like a territory where they don't like hippies or whatever, and I just thought it was just very helpful to see him like that and his anxiety, and then yeah, the prep that I watched. There's a lot of footage to watch, but what was the greatest thing was like the greatest. It was just a synchronicity. I was watching another documentary about the Blues Brothers,
Okay.
and because I love Belushi, and that's like another character that I would think that I would play first before Coppola, and so I'm watching the Blues Brothers, this recent documentary. It's like animated. I think it was a Showtime or something, HBO or something, and I'm watching and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then they get to the part where they're talking about, the after party after SNL. They would have the Blues Brothers after party in this like dungeon of a bar, and everyone would come from after SNL. Do you know who was the bartender?
No. Who?
Coppola.
Oh, really? Dude, that's awesome. What a story that is.
Right?
That's
And just what a key into his personality. Like
wow.
this guy needs to be at the center of the freaking whirlwind, like every single time, And he was there, and the bartender is kind of a director, you're directing everyone's mood essentially, handing out the drinks. And he that was that there were little things like that were like synchronicities and the universe like helping me.
I liked what you did with him, man. I liked a lot what you did with him because you see him now. It's just I had it's funny when I first moved to LA, and it's like '99. I was working at this place called Intermedia, and he walked in for a meeting, and I'm a month fresh into Los Angeles at this point, right? So and I look up, and here's Coppola, and I'm like the GI Joe video, blah, 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 blah. But I'm just like it made my week, like I would just to see him. But that's like that legendary version of him. Still, even in like '99, he had done all this stuff. But like when you have to introduce him, this, as you said, this is like he's in director jail pretty much. He takes this job because when you're younger, you think that this was his movie, this was his passion project, this was the thing he brought in. That ain't the story. It's they brought him on, and once he took it over, and I really like how the relationship with Puzo is presented as well. And so bizarre as I'm watching this, where as I'm like, oh, there's Dan, and I'm looking and I'm watching you do your thing. But then Patrick Gallo was a guy I knew years ago he was in my he and I had the same manager, and I was like,
no way.
And I'm like, because I'm looking, I'm like, I know that dude. I'm like, oh my god, it's Patrick Gallo, and he's crushing it as Puzo.
And
so had you met Patrick before when you guys were, and if not, like, how did you start to form that relationship?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was yeah. I love Patrick, man. He's the best. And to answer the whole question,
Please.
when they came to Coppola, and it's in the show, he said first, he didn't want to do it. He thought it wasn't good for Italians. And then I love the story that like George Lucas was just like, man, we need to pay some bills here. And that's why he did it. He's like, all right, I'll do it. And then over the course of Um, it's like because he read the book, and there are parts of the book that are brilliant, and then there are parts of the book that are a little like, out there. There's like a very risque, and he was like, I don't know if I want to. And then it wasn't until he started pairing it down with Puzo, and then like realizing like Puzo is a genius, and their relationship was really fun, and and this is all legendary stuff. You see this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of behind the scenes footage, especially them in Godfather 2 of them riding together, and so in the script they spend a hell of a lot of time together. So we had these beautiful rehearsals that Dexter Fletcher put together, which I loved.
Yeah.
And I came into the rehearsal room. I think it was the first day, and he was sitting there. Patrick was sitting there, and I just, when you walk into a project, if you're supposed to like really respect someone, and they're like they become your good friend, even if you don't know them, and a lot of actors, I think they project, someone that they know onto them that they love, and that has all those attributes. It's like, it's an old school acting thing. So I projected onto him like a lot of buddies that I went to college with and stuff like that, and it's crazy because he worked with a lot of my buddies who I went to college with, active buddies, active friends on other things. So it's just a small world. So what was great was I had this place I was renting out in LA, and my wife and kids were supposed to come out because I thought that was like a very Coppola thing too. I like to have them with me, but I was like, especially for this, that Coppola always had his family around.
Right.
And so it was like 3 weeks before they came out, and Patrick needed a place to stay. And I was like, hey man, this is crazy, but like, in homage to the method and the meta, of it all. Why don't
you guys, that house scene when you guys are spending all that time together, and he's eating, and it was great. So I could see.
We were roommates, man. He was my
awesome.
roommate for like 3 weeks for the first couple episodes, and that was priceless.
Yeah,
because we just took a page out of Coppola's book. That's what he would do. He would get the actors together, and they would party, and they would drink and laugh together, and then that chemistry comes out on the screen. And I think that's what happened with me and Patrick. We definitely had great chemistry when we started shooting, and I think it would have been there, but it would have been there without the extra hanging out. But with the extra hanging out, there was just a little extra sauce there, a little extra.
It's comfortability. It's comfortability too.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can tell like that. Those scenes, it feels like you guys were roommates, like you guys were buddies, and that you had to be on the same page. And it also showed how.
If you want to, if you want to talk to him, I can get him pretty easy.
I would love to get Gallo going. I haven't talked to him in like 20 some odd years. I would love to get Gallo. But yeah, thank you for that. But like the idea of that, watching that go down, and as you mentioned, where Coppola thought Puzo was a genius, you can tell in the scenes like the mutual respect that they had for one another, and how that Coppola would say, no, that's great what you're doing there, but let's do this. And they had to work through those scenes and make them happen. And the idea of Puzo just eating when he's not supposed to, and it's hilarious. But like that also goes to where you're talking about chemistry. You look at the stuff going on with Coppola and Ruddy, and yourself and Miles Teller, and that's another relationship. And I'm telling you, the performances, and I want to talk about that relationship with Ruddy in just a second, but what I'll tell you, because you said something earlier, you said, when you think of me, Belushi's the kind of role that I would be playing. But then after you see, like, as I brought that picture up before, like, I mean, that's great how you guys, I mean, this is a great, like, you could see it. If I saw a picture of you and then him, I go, yeah, what in a million years I wouldn't have never guessed is this. Like, dude, when that, so my wife had watched me for a while, and so I went, and I don't have anything against Justin Chambers. I just never really knew anything about him other than that. And so he shows up, and I'm like, because I remember as that scene's coming in, and I go, who did they get to play Brando? Right? I'm like, come on. I'm like, that's you talking. I mean, I know Coppola's intimidating, but Brando, and I'm like, let me see. And I'm like, is that the dude from Grey's Anatomy? And this guy, not only does he annihilate this role, he looks and transforms his face into Brando at one point when he's sitting there with Bob, and I'm like, so tell me about that scene when that classic scene where Coppola has to film him, and in watching him do this thing, were you as in awe as I was watching this?
Well, that's there were a lot of famous legends that we had to recreate or have as the emotional backdrop. But like that happened. They went to Brando's house. There's footage of it.
Yeah.
And because they had to convince the studio that Brando was the guy.
It's crazy.
Right? And Brando transformed before their eyes. You know, it was the whole thing, you know, get me the shoe polish, and then he put his hair and put the tissues, cotton balls in his jowls or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like a magic trick. Like Brando turns around, he does this, and Coppola's filming with his little, camera, his film camera, and yeah, and so it's like, how are we gonna recreate that? So it was kind of magical already just to see what Justin was doing just before he turns into the Godfather, where he's just like Brando with the blonde ponytail and his kimono or whatever. He's walking down the stairs, and there's a cut of that scene that's just of the available footage that is probably the most surreal, hysterical scene that anyone's ever seen. Just because we were all just like kind of hypnotized by what Justin was doing, because there's a moment in there where he starts describing acting, and he's just like, acting it's feeling without knowing, and knowing without seeing, and seeing without feeling, or like, and we're just like,
right.
And he didn't get. He kept on like messing the line up, but it didn't matter. We were just like, holy crap!
Right.
I could watch him do this for like hours.
I couldn't believe it. Like my wife and I, when he pops up, we're like, okay, let's see what the guy from Grey's Anatomy is gonna do. And by the end of it, we're like, wow! Like, and yeah, please.
What's crazy is that he looks like a lost son of Brando's or something.
That's what I'm saying. I couldn't believe it.
Profile.
I couldn't believe it. Like when he puts the mustache on in the mirror, I was like, wow! I thought almost they deep faked Brando's face onto him at one point, and then again when he's got that scene when he's like, yeah, I think you should put Pacino in there, and he's telling man. And speaking of which, this to me seems method acting. I don't know. You tell me, because you're on set with the guy. But like when I saw Matthew Good the years ago in Watchmen, and he was in something else. Yeah, I just wasn't a massive fan, but the more and more I see this guy and everything that he's in, I didn't. If I hadn't known right away that it was Matthew Good, I wouldn't have recognized him. I mean, this is and from him and Justin Chambers, the same thing that they're doing. It is so easy that either one of them, and yourself included, could have fallen into impressions of these people, and it doesn't happen. It's interpretations of how they saw them as human beings, as people. You can see that, and what Matthew Good is doing in this role, man, like wow. So is he a method actor? Because it seems like it,
man. I think he's that is a good question. Yeah, I'm realizing that with my acting, I'm doing like a hybrid thing. It's like a sense memory thing. Everything's coming out of my own experiences, and then I pepper in, accents and certain things that are reminiscent of the person that I'm trying to portray. That man, Matthew, I've been calling him the time machine. Because he became Bob Evans. I don't know if he's method, but there's something about this character for him. I believe that it was very close to home, and he's just hitting his stride, man. It's like he's in his prime, and like I can fucking watch this. Sorry, can I curse?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can watch his Bob Evans. Like on set, I was in a couple scenes with him, and then I'm like, I just in between takes, I was like, Bob Evans in Hamlet. You know, I was like, I want to see, I want to see you do all the greats. You know,
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
believe like when you watch the interviews and you see and you can feel like, and you mentioned all these stories about everything in the kind of the 70s, whether it's Saturday Night Live and everything else. The 70s, what a crazy time in general it was, but like even crazier when it came to like the movie business, because this is 70, like 71, 72 when the movie gets 72 when the movie comes out, but when that's before Star Wars, that's before Jaws, that's before like what the big blockbuster is. So like this is like when you're talking love story and all those types of movies that are being made, and like and I love the scene where when he's got Chinatown and he's trying to pitch it because nobody knew how the hell to pitch Chinatown. Hilarious. And it was a nice way to kind of to as you said, and as you're referring to him as a time machine, that this whole show is a time machine. And did you know as much about this story with how much the mob was involved? I had known some stuff, but I didn't know about Columbo and all that stuff.
I knew a little bit, just this, the stories about Sinatra and
Yeah.
the Johnny Fontaine part, and people just being like, "Whoa, is that based on him, or was that supposed to be him?" And I never knew the full story until researching for this. But yeah, I didn't know the whole Columbo thing,
Nice.
where I didn't know. I didn't know how involved that, like, really. It was a miracle that the movie even got made. There were so many people that they had to win over, and that's basically what Miles does throughout the series. He's just like putting out fires, and oh my god, and like yeah, I think Miles does a great job. It's like he's like the kid in Whiplash gets into the car crash. He's like, screw it. He just keeps on running like that, and he keeps running, and then he becomes Al Ruddy basically. He just like he can't stop
Yeah,
him.
I'm glad you brought him up too, because like that was,
Yeah.
and as you were talking with it, like the relationship, and I guess the same question I asked you earlier with Gallo. I don't know if you had worked with Miles previously, but I know that I had just come off of watching Top Gun Maverick, and I know he probably shot that way before this.
He
If I was
did,
to
yeah,
guess,
yeah.
I would assume.
They waited to put that out. Yeah.
Yeah, and they waited a couple years. I've been raving about that movie. Like that to me is one of the, I couldn't believe how good that movie was. That movie shouldn't have been as good as it was. It was so good. But he's really good in it. But the thing with him is, whether you're mentioning Whiplash, he's like, even when this show starts, he kind of changes. It's not too much, but he changes the pitch in his voice a little bit. He carries himself differently, and I wonder like, as far as the book goes with him, but like how was it working with him and meeting him for the first time and developing that same type of chemistry, the dynamic differently, obviously, from what you and Puzo had to do, but because Ruddy was essentially Coppola's boss.
Yeah, he was trying to because Al Ruddy has a pretty gravelly voice, and so Miles tried to emulate that, the timbre. Yeah, and he had like a different swagger. Like,
Yeah.
he's definitely reinventing himself now. Yeah, it's great, dude. I mean, like, I had a respect for him going into it. I just did my podcast. He was on my podcast,
Awesome.
and you can listen to that if you want
Well,
to
I
get
will.
into. I interviewed a lot of the cast, and yeah, like, the relationship with Ruddy and Coppola is, Ruddy really has to win him over,
Yeah.
um, because, and it's great. It gives him a place to get to, um, because Coppola is not a fan of producers. It was, as you can see, he just basically is like cut the studio out of his life, and he just makes his own movies with his own money. Um, but so when Al comes in, it's just like, here's the enemy, but he needs him, and it isn't until episode, which is a great, it's the hug basically. It isn't until episode 2 where they're in Vegas and Johnny Fontaine,
Oh yeah.
um, that character falls through, and Ruddy, Miles gives a great monologue. He's like, I'm gonna, just trust me, I'm gonna get this done for you.
Yep.
And I give him the big hug, and then Puzo comes in. He's like, let me get in on this, and then it's just like, oh,
Great.
That moment there is, Three Musketeers. It's like brothers. Suddenly, it's very humanizing.
Yeah, when you finished that scene, did you know? Oh, I felt that. I felt that. Like I like that. That's gonna
The
hit.
hug, yeah, the hug. I was like, yeah, yeah, it was so important. Like it was
Yeah.
all in the writing. Like
Yeah.
it was there. The inspiration for all this stuff was there, but it was up to us to pull it off. And then the chemistry is there, man. It's like it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it played in, and
Miles
yeah,
has become a buddy.
that's great. Yeah, because
Yeah,
you can tell it's there, and like there was even that thing where there's and they played off the things that I was very well aware of, but not to the depth that I started to now know more about, was with the that how Coppola was almost fired many times off the film, many times, and then the crew he had to, and then Ruddy has that conversation. You have to be on the same page with them, man. Like you got to, right? And it's like, and so when they had that, even the last episode, when he's telling, when Coppola's telling the story, and he's like, "I never tell you about the time." He's like, "No, I'm sure I'm going to find out," or whatever, with the art director, right? So
right.
all that was just there's a lot of humor in it, and not humor that doesn't fit, like human humor, like humor that would happen in everyday life, and that's the type of stuff that I respond to anyway.
Yeah, a lot of that humor with Coppola and Gordy was that Gordy was a genius in his own right with lighting. Gordy Willis and Coppola had Orson Welles syndrome. He was like always constantly trying to prove himself.
Right.
Coppola, it would have exhausted him, but he could have lit the Godfather pretty well, actually, if he had to. And so when Gordy was, anytime Gordy talked down to him, trying to explain to him what a Caravaggio is, like it's just like,
Right.
yeah, I know. That's funny. That's like, yeah.
The dynamic in general really it plays with all the characters, and I also don't there's so many great people in this show, from whether it's Colin Hanks and Burt Norman. Juno Temple is another one who is, man,
Love
because
her.
she's like the powerful voice, and again in
She's a cool
1970s,
character. Betty is a cool character.
yeah. Like all the characters are great, man. I'm telling you, I'm fascinated by this show. I'm bummed because I know they can't be. I mean, unless they do Godfather Part 2, but then it's like, was it that hard to get that movie made? The Godfather Part 2? All the money
What I think would be cool is if, like, you want to talk about like what a second season might look like.
Yes, please.
Because at that point, it's kind of like the second act where it's kind of like the rise to fame.
Yeah.
So they're proving themselves, and then this act, like, it's like the classic,
It's like Rocky 3.
exactly. It's like Rocky 3. Yeah, it's like they got everything, and then it's like what do they do with that responsibility?
Yeah.
What do they?
That's something that's on the table. Has that been talked about at all?
It's not officially, but
Okay.
I think that like people can see the potential. You hear people kind of chattering about it. Oh, what would a second season look
Good.
like? I think, like, wouldn't it be cool to see Godfather Part 2 into Pieces of Apocalypse Now?
Yeah.
And you still follow the same people.
Yeah. And you introduced young De Niro this time too.
New characters. De Niro will be so amazing.
Yeah.
And Coppola and Evans had a pretty big feud over the Godfathers. There's famous telegrams that were pretty scathing. And so you could play into that,
I'm hoping for it. I will, and as I said this before, with what I honestly I would say this whether you're on the air or not. I think this is your best performance, man. I think this is so incredible. I think this is so what you did and be able to bring, because like as I mentioned before with the Brando stuff, and it is not easy to take someone like a Francis Ford Coppola and then separate them and go, because you can see a lot of people, especially the way the internet works today. That's not Coppola. I was watching that and going, that's Francis Ford Coppola. That's Coppola. That's, you could see this is a young Coppola. This isn't, because you could have easily fallen into that thing where like, well, this is the powerful Coppola. This is it. He's not. He's kind of he's beaten down at this point, as you mentioned, with the producers and everything too. So it's a phenomenal performance from all of you guys. I have to thank you for the show, because I wasn't expecting the show. I wasn't expecting to. I mean, Dan, I can't shut up about the show. I really can't. I can't shut up about it. I love it. I love it. So good. I'm crossing my fingers that you will have a season 2. And now that you've gotten me excited for that possibility in general. I thought there was no chance, but if there's those, even if it's in the ether,
put it out in the ether,
it's out there somewhere. I cross my fingers. But before I let you go, anything? So you're out right now to let the audience. You're in the UK right now.
Yeah, I'm living in the UK. I've been living here. I for the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Yeah.
We have a nice situation out here. My little girls are growing up and they're in school, and that kind of dictates where I've been living. So they're very happy here. So we're happy here. Yeah, man.
What you working on at the moment?
I have a bunch of comic books over at Heavy Metal Magazine.
Okay.
One of them is called Moon Lake, and we're turning it into an animated show, which is really cool. I've been focusing on that for the moment. So we got Comic-Cons in San Diego Comic-Con coming up, and we're gonna do a big showcase, and that's what's
people can come check you out then at Comic-Con when you're gonna
I'm gonna be doing a bunch of Comic-Cons this year, but definitely San Diego over at the Heavy Metal booth. Come say hi.
Yeah, please go check out Dan over when he's in Comic-Con. And if you have not been, check out the offer on Paramount Plus. They're coming up. Now you can probably binge by the time it's out. You can probably binge the whole damn thing. And now I'm jealous of you that you can do that. I'm crossing my fingers. And then Fantastic Beasts, we got part 4 and 5 are coming out, right?
That'd be nice. Yes, from your lips to God's ears.
Okay, so we've got a lot out there for you right now, and I'm happy that you're doing that. And your podcast also is you can find that on Apple Podcasts, and that's Dan Fogler's 4D Experience. Is that
Dan Fogler 4D Experience podcast? Man, you got it. Yeah, I just I interviewed Bern Gorman, who plays Charlie Bloodhorn. Love his performance on the show.
So good. He's so good.
Miles Juno's coming up for the final episode, so check those out.
I am going to be listening to those. You have my absolute word on that. I will be listening to it for sure. I'm probably going to listen to it when I disconnect with you here.
Oh, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Dan Fogler, and you can find him over on Twitter, on Instagram as well. I'm sure everywhere, but make sure please you go and you check out the offer, and that's it. And Fantastic Beast is also on, the new one is also on HBOMAX now, so you can check that there, and digital and all that stuff too. All right, Dan, as always, my man, thank you for joining me. It's good catching up. And then whenever you can, we should just bullshit about movies. I know that's what we did last time, so we can do it again.
Anytime, brother.
All right, brother. So Dan Fogler, everybody. And now back to the show. The great Dan Fogler playing Francis Ford Coppola. All right, Roxy, tell me a little bit about your experience, your episode 1.
Yeah, so I only watched episode 1, but I feel like I've seen more because it's a hefty. It's an hour and 10-minute episode, so it really like brings you into it. And I thought it was really good.
It's good, right?
I didn't expect it to be such a real show. I know that sounds bizarre, but I was kind of thinking it was going to be more doc style.
A lot of people thought that because even when you say it's about the making of the Godfather, oh, it's a documentary. It's like a full on show.
It's a full on show, and from the opening scene, I'm like, oh, this is a show that it has like Sopranos vibes to it early on. And I was like, that's pretty cool, and that's what I love. So I think that it's really fun. It's interesting. The performances are great. I definitely am going to keep watching it. And I think that was the smartest choice. But I do understand people who thought it was something else being like, what is this?
Yeah, I think also I think the biggest criticism from some people is how authentic they think it is. I'm like, I don't care.
There is there are a bunch of moments where they for sure are talking about something like, where you go to a director, right? And you're like saying, you're amazing, we need you. And then I watched that a kid stays in the picture, and you hear that that's like actually maybe not the way that it went down, or there were different sentences said, but.
Right.
I don't care. It's a scripted series.
That's it. And the performances in this show are awesome. And obviously Dan Fogler, who plays a young Coppola, is great.
He's so good.
Looks just like him.
Yeah.
And then, but
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller is awesome. He's the one that kind of brings us through the whole entire thing as Alan Ruddy.
He does with his voice.
He does. He has that kind of gravelly
God.
voice. I
I'm
brought
like,
that up.
ooh.
Yeah, and I brought that up with Fogler as well. But like but Bob Ryan, who or Matthew Good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's so good in this series, and you just saw him in episode 1. But like he just gets better and better and better, and like Juno Temple is
oh my
so
God,
good.
Juno
Yeah.
Temple is so good in this.
She gets better. She's Roxy, I can't wait for you to go deeper into the series because you're only in episode 1. It gets better and better.
How many
better.
episodes?
I think 10 total.
And are they all like an hour?
About
plus?
that, yeah,
Wow.
about that, yeah. So I think that's the way to do it. Is that and I don't know what the hell Obi Wan's. Did you watch last the?
I loved it so much, Kristian.
It was great.
Oh,
It was really good. It was, but it's
well,
30,
you just started with I don't know what the hell Obi Wan.
33 minutes.
Yeah, it's not long
It's
enough.
so imagine the episode that you watched with Hayden Christensen and everything too. Imagine that episode was 15 minutes longer with more development on it. And by the way, I do wish they would have done some more de-aging with him though, because
A lot of people are saying that, but I don't care.
Look what I did. I'm going to show you what I did. But look that's what my shit.
Where's his braid?
It's in the back, but
Yeah.
that's my stupid phone that did that. Like they couldn't have done that. Lucasfilm, come on.
People were talking about that, but I don't know why it just didn't bother me.
It didn't take away from it. It just was like he's supposed to be 18 years old and he's clearly 44 or whatever.
40
the hell it
hot.
is. Yeah, but he
Yeah.
was. I mean, it was a good episode. There's definitely
It was great, Kristian.
There's a couple things I had issues with, but overall it was to me the best episode of the series thus far. But I still think that it's silly to say, but like Mandalorian is on TV, but it feels like it's playing in film. You know, Stranger Things is TV, but it feels like it's playing in film. Obi Wan's TV, and it feels like it's playing in TV. It feels like there's times where it feels like
Maybe that's why I love it, because I love TV.
I love TV also as far as the episodic. I'm talking about like the overall feel to it, right? And that was there are parts. The reason why I watched the Star Wars show and the reason I like them, when people are always saying, why do you like TV Star Wars better than film? Because TV is a place where you can really explore characters more and deep dive on relationships and build out. I don't feel like they've done that a lot in this show so far. I still like the show. It's not all the way the show I was kind of hoping for, because I was hoping for like a kind of deep dive on the character study on Obi Wan and the relationship. Like we got this in this episode of the relationship between Anakin and Obi Wan, but I was just hoping that's what the show was about. But anyway, there's a full on. We covered this to death yesterday with Steph, myself, and then I did a spoiler review yesterday, so you can catch all that on the podcast feed. I don't know. There's a couple other things. I think we covered a lot. Anything else?
You ever showed up to like a class and you feel like you read the wrong book and everybody read?
That's it.
That's what I feel like to them. Like I watched 2 Stranger Things.
Oh yeah,
two,
we know what Stranger Things in a
two,
second, but I want to.
Russian dolls.
This came out. This image of Gosling as Ken. It's pretty great.
Thank you. Yes,
Excellent.
It's pretty great.
I'll take it.
I think
It's pretty great.
I think I read this week that Simu Liu said that the Barbie script was the best script that he had ever read.
What?
Something like that. I'm actually yoked on this movie.
Yeah, on Barbie could be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be fun. I think it's a great. The image looks great. But
Amy
we can,
Schumer was the wrong choice for that. And Margot Robbie is the right choice for that.
Agreed. All right, we'll end with this. So Brett has something to talk about today. The Stranger Things, haircut Magoo over here.
Oh yeah. Just a cornucopia of delightful haircuts.
I know. This to me was some of the best television I've seen in a very long time. It was so much so that I told because my wife, we were watching, she watched seasons 1 through 3 with me, and then she watched episode 1 of season 4, and it was very horror based, and she was like, I don't know if I can do that. I think I'm out, because like, it's just not that it wasn't good, the story is just really creepy images. So I'm like, all right, I'll finish and I'll watch it. So I thought that 1 was more creepy than the rest, and then 2 is pretty creepy also. And she's like, all right, I'll give it one more shot and I'll watch another episode, because I was like, I want to watch it again. I just finished it. I want to watch it again. So then she watched episode 2 and she's like, that was creepier than the first one. and I thought, but I do think it gets a little less creepy as it goes on. No, it doesn't.
Does it?
I guess not. So I guess I can't get her to watch, but I think I'm going to watch it anyway because it was. So you're what? You're 2 episodes in?
Yeah, I'm watching it with Blake.
Okay.
Yeah, we got.
Is he digging it? What's he? 13 now?
Yeah,
12?
15.
Holy shit! Wow.
Yeah, so he had to finish up. He had to finish up the last season because I was like, hey, you need to like summer. Let's watch something once a week. You know.
Is he digging it?
And totally digging it. And we got through 2 last night. If we started a little later, I think we would have knocked out another one if it wasn't so late. But I think were you bringing up the part about the Mean Girls element that you found a bit cheesy, or am I making that up?
Somebody else, was that on SCN maybe?
I don't know. Yeah. But that was my only issue with it.
I agree
when you go
with that,
like,
though.
are people really? I mean, I knew mean people, but like sometimes just like, oh, your dad's dead.
I don't know. I like really think that sometimes it's like
I do
that.
too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Especially young girls, as I was one. When they want to go for the jugular,
It's
you're
vicious.
dead. You're dead.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I actually thought it was pretty effective. I mean, I think there's. I don't want to go into a full spoiler thing. I have a spoiler on the channel for people who haven't seen it. But there's a lot of great stuff going on. Millie Bobby Brown once again. I thought what they did really well, which I didn't. I actually saw a few different criticisms of this. And Dan Merle was one of them. And I'm usually on the same page with Dan. I'm not on this side. He had an issue with the fact that I don't want to speak for him completely, but this is what I got out of his review, that he had an issue with the kids being in separate pockets for the majority of the series. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I thought that it works so well, and I had like an Empire Strikes Back feel to it, that when they finally do match up at the end, and again, I don't want to spoil it, so you're not done yet. So
I
don't wanna
would
spoil
assume
it.
that would happen.
But that's not the spoiler. There's other things that happen inside of it that are massive. I got something spoiled for me, something major, that I won't say to him, because what I will tell you is you're 2 episodes in. What I will tell you not to do is do not Google who is the actor that plays Vecna. Don't do that.
Is Vecna the kid? Who's Vecna? Oh,
Vecna's like the Freddy Krueger guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to look up who the actor that plays the long hair.
That guy's great. The guy who plays Eddie Munster or whatever this guy's.
He's been in other things, right?
A couple. He has that one of those faces.
Really good.
He has
And
one
it
of those
seems
faces.
like
He's
a
really good.
young Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
People have been saying that too. Yeah, but he does, and he's great. And he continues to. When he first showed up, I was nervous because I was like, oh, this is going to be that kind of stereotypical, over the top, heavy metal kid. He's great on the show.
I'm super curious what is going to happen with these kids' careers. Like, obviously, Millie Bobby Brown.
She's already taken off.
She's taken off, and we've seen Finn Wolfhard and a few different things. But, like, who is going to do what? Because I haven't seen the girl who plays Nancy do much. And
Right. When is Finn Wolfhard going to play Eddie Ramone?
Right.
Right? Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
But
they're all going to be successful?
no. And that has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with their talent.
Who do you think is going to be
Stand up, Millie Bobby Brown.
other than Millie Bobby Brown?
Steve.
Yeah, I think he's the best.
And
No, not the best.
Yeah,
I
but
just think
he's
great.
and Uma Thurman's daughter.
Yeah, she's
Which
great.
I just found out.
That it was her daughter.
Yeah.
And she was also in a Tarantino movie. She was in the
Feet,
Once a Time in Hollywood.
What?
Yeah, feet.
Feet,
I
feet.
remember watching her in that.
Yeah, but so those are the ones. I mean, I think that I would not be surprised if any of them wind up. And obviously, David Harbour, who's you're talking about the kids in
And
general.
Winona Ryder, yeah.
Yeah, but
just
which
the kids.
this to me.
Who do you think's going to fail? Roxy?
Right. I hope they all succeed. I like them all, but
It'll be. It's sometimes tough with something like this. You think because you're kind of pigeonholed into
that's the
that
problem.
character.
Yeah, like,
you know?
like you look at like Dustin, right? The kid who
Yeah.
plays Dustin. He just has such a recognizable face that he's, to me, will always be Dustin. That doesn't mean that he's not going to break out and do some other kind of role. I mean, look at Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel Radcliffe, even when the poor bastard is playing Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's Harry Potter playing Weird Al Yankovic.
Forever.
Yeah.
But
we don't feel that way about Hermione.
But what I will say about Daniel Radcliffe, even though we still say that about him, he still goes out there and does significant different roles in everything he does. Even in that Lost City movie that he did with Sandra Bullock, significantly different roles. So who knows? Maybe this kid does the same type of thing that Dustin, but he's so good in the show.
It's like
also.
Gaston
I
or
remember.
something.
I remember. It's a long episode, everybody. So I want to thank Dan Fogler for coming on the show. I want to thank Roxy and Brett for being on. Also, we'll be back, the three of us again next week. Don't forget, if you missed out on Sith Council, you should check that out. Tomorrow, we have the rewatch of Toy Story 3 and 4 on one episode with myself, Coy, and Winston. Then that trio will be back on Monday talking about Lightyear spoiler review.
What's the better trio?
The hot dogs and spicy mustard with a bun.
Oh,
It's good, right?
yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. All right, so check that out. Check out Lightyear. Check out all we got reviews. Did you get a screening for Elvis? Everybody seems to get one.
I didn't
What the
get
hell's
it.
going on?
They don't like me.
It's at Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah, and then they usually like me.
I don't know what's happening. Gotta figure this out. All right, listen. That's it. That's the show. I want to thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace out, everybody. Make sure, once again, if you haven't subscribed, do that. Hit that button. Do the rest of it. We'll see you next time.